To give you what you need. You out of touch, but you feel the words I've spoken. Do my morning meditation.
What's up, bruh?
What's up with you, man?
Everything, man. Good to see you, man. See. All right, everybody. Welcome back to episode 4 of the 11 Lead podcast. Today, we get a chance to come to a sacred ground for many men. For generations, men have been gathering in barbershops to talk about sports, family, work, and life. But beneath every haircut, there's a deeper conversation. Today, we're talking about brotherhood, community, purpose, and what it means to become a man worth following. Today, I'm joined by my friend and my barber for the last 3 years, Tim Clough, owner of Cuts and Creation Hair Studio, a father, a grandfather, an entrepreneur, and someone who has spent several years serving people one conversation at a time. Welcome to the podcast, Tim. What's up, my brother?
What's up, man?
Thanks again, man, for
Thanks for
taking
having
time.
me.
This is a busy man right here. And before I get into it too, just want to say, man, you in the metro Atlanta, Roswell area, you need a cut, best barber in the area, and about to open up a new spot. What the new spot gonna be?
Close to Perimeter Mall. It's right off Hammond Drive. I don't know the exact address because I've only been there physically like 3 times, but it's coming soon.
And you need to get cut. That's the man to do it. All right. So we're gonna get right into it. All right. First things first, man. Tim, you could tell us a little bit about your story, where you grew up, and who helped shape you.
I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. My mom is probably my main influence. Uncles and other men around the community, watching them grow and seeing their struggles and overcomes and, being better men. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. So.
Yeah. So you say you actually was from Nebraska but raised. How did it transition from Nebraska to Atlanta go? What did your mom just move here?
Yeah, my mom moved here fresh out of med school and came to Atlanta with a job opportunity and moving me and my younger brother here. I was around like 10, he was 3, and we've been here ever since and never left.
Okay. So when you think back on your childhood, just be as real as you want to be, man. Think about your childhood. What's some things that, still influence you from your childhood that are influencing you today?
The main thing was seeing my mom raise her 2 boys with no help and no like outside anything, just me, her, and my brother here in Atlanta. Truly inspired me to know that you can just do it without help, without family, without anything, if you're truly that determined.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hear you already giving a lot of credence to your mom, and shout out to all the moms out there that raise young men, without really having, father figure. I mean, I'm assuming that I'm hearing that from you, but so is your dad in the picture at all?
A little bit, but he passed away early. He passed away when I was like 13.
Yeah.
So
How did that impact you think?
impacted me a lot. I really had to grow up faster than normal. I had a little brother to take care of. And I remember my grandpa telling me, my dad's dad telling me, hey, you're the man of the house now. So with that alone, it probably grew me up faster than I should have because the things I worried about wasn't what my friends were worried about.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Basically taking care of my brother, making sure he was on the right track and going to school every morning and picking him up after school, making sure he ate, making sure he get to basketball practice, making sure all these things because I was way older than him. So it's kind of shaped me to be that way, always looking out.
Sounds like a lot of weight, man. You said you was like 13 then? That sounds like a lot of weight for a young man. So I can see how that can, make you grow up faster. So when did you first decide to become a barber?
I've, I've been cutting hair or learning how to cut hair when I was like 11 and 12 years old because my brother was like a part-time model as well.
Mm.
So my mom was taking him to like these shoots and things, and he always had to have a haircut and stuff. And she just didn't like going into the barbershop. So I was already learning, and I became my brother's barber. And that's how I started. I started cutting everyone in the neighborhood. I played basketball, I cut my basketball team, my coaches. They kind of like encouraged me to keep going and keep doing it and never stop. And I'm here today, still cutting.
So how long have you been, man, I'm not trying to throw your age out there, but how long you been cutting hair now then?
It'd be 26 years.
Yeah. Now, that's a career right there. So just like we said in the opening, man, the barbershop, for generations in our community has been kind of like a sacred ground for men. You can come in after you have a hard day's work, maybe an argument with your spouse or your significant others, and you can kind of be put at ease. And for 26 years, you've been cutting hair. So I know you done heard a whole lot of stories. So I would just ask you, what have you learned about people, after spending years behind a chair?
That sometimes somebody just needs someone to talk to and for them to listen to them. I'm like literally like listen. Like sometimes people listen, but they don't really listen.
Right.
And when I show that I sincerely care or I actually listen, and then I ask you about it the next time I see you, hey, how's it going? Like, that means I genuinely care and I actually thought about you later on. Might have said a prayer, and just hope everything's well for you.
Yeah, that's what you say, man. This make me think about, I mean, all the people who sat in your chair. All the stories that you heard. I just think about, when I think about like ministry and church and stuff like that, I just think about it out of the four walls of church. It's like not like a religious thing, like it's the day to day interacting with people. And you said something, very pointed that, you take the time to listen. And I think that's the biggest thing when we talk about brotherhood and community. Like we got to be there to listen to one another. And you take it a step further. You let them know that you really listen because you said you follow up, you ask the question, and without them even asking, sometimes you go and you pray for them. And I don't even know if you know, man, you got a pulpit right here on this mat right there. I mean, not for preaching, but for sharing and listening, encouraging other brothers, man. I don't know, if you really know that, but it sounds like, the fact that you take the time to listen that way, you might know that that's something that you have a lot of power to be able to influence and impact men just by listening and encouraging them. So kudos to you, brother.
Thank you.
Kudos to you. Yeah. So, not to talk about anybody, specifically, but what are some of the common struggles that, you hear men talk about having?
I think more of the common struggles I hear nowadays is getting over the hump, raising their now sons, raising daughters, and extending relationships beyond, when they become grown and whatnot. Like I have grown children, so now is the like it's a common thing I hear every day is relationships with fathers and their children.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like meaningful and detrimental to the man who actually talking about it because he cares so much. But as you know, time goes, people get grown, sensitive ways are in the way, things are not said, and things are not done anymore. So I think it's a common trend among men that they're hurting not from receiving love from their own family.
Yeah. No, I can see that being the case, man. So, I mean, when you're hearing this common story, and you said you have your own kids. I know you got grandkids because you talk about them. So,
Mhm.
what kind of like encouragement do you offer? Not without acting like you have all the answers, just from experience. What are some of the encouragements that you offer?
I think that the most thing I keep saying is like, give it all to God and like, some of these problems are only solved with your actions. Like, just listening sometimes, not critiquing, not giving advice sometimes and just listening.
Mm.
Even though it's hard, you want to say this and you want to say that. Well, sometimes it just ain't warranted. They just want to hear, let you hear it and just, encourage them to do better. That's about it and leave it at that. Don't give me your honest opinion sometimes because I'm just saying sometimes
Hmm.
because sometimes it ain't warranted. They don't want to hear it
Yeah.
because as a parent, sometimes we think we can know everything and we don't. But we've seen enough instances and obstacles and courses to let you know those things. That's why we're the parent. But with that being said, I have to like lean back and I have to encourage my brothers to listen instead of talking because
Yeah.
that's why we got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
No, man, you said it, man. I've been there. I talk about my youngest, my son, all the time. And you're right. Sometimes we think we have all the answers just because we've been on earth longer than them. But sometimes, man, they have more input and they have some wisdom that we don't even give them credit for. So I agree with you, man, that sometimes we just got to listen, not try to correct and just be there. Because, when you've been a person who's been the critic for most of their life,
Mhm.
like sometimes they just want you to be, their parent, the one who listens and, validates what they feel. So I think that's very good what you're telling them. Sometimes you just got to be quiet. Sometimes you got to be quiet.
And I'm not saying it like in a bad way. I'm saying it like, getting an earful and just listening to what they have to say. And they might tell you more if you just listen and not say anything.
Yeah.
Because when you're the parent, you're limited on what you're going to hear from them anyway, because they don't want you to feel a certain way about them. Or they don't want you to feel a certain way about what they're going through and make you not like the person they're talking about or whatever. Because at the end of the day, they genuinely don't dislike the person. They're just mad at the person and don't know how to express it because of their age.
Yeah. They don't want you to come in and try to fix the whole.
No. I'll do that.
No doubt. So we're talking about, you said one of the common struggles that men talk about is just about parenting and relationships. That just kind of brings me to something you brought up. You said you are a father, you are a grandfather. So how did, becoming a father change you? I know you told me a little bit about, having kids young. I'll just kind of, let you elaborate on that. How did that change you as a man?
I had kids when I was 16 and I was a junior in high school. It was at the end of my junior year, and I had to make the honest effort to change and be about my kids that were here. I had two. And so my outlook on life changed, everything changed. And I feel like because I was made to be a little bit older when I was younger by my mom, I think it just rolled right along to what was happening, what was about to happen to me. And I took it with grace and just kept moving forward, and I kept always trying to be better. Like this was my outlet, was barbering. I don't think for me at that time, it wasn't any profession or anything I could do at 16, 17 years old that would pay me enough money to be able to take care of my kids.
Yeah. How do you figure that out? You're 16. You said you had two kids, 16, and you got your brother still too, right? You said you really only had barbering. What did you do? How did you put it all together?
I messed up. I dibbled and dabbled in the streets, trying to make fast money, whatever. Once I found out that wasn't the route for me, I went to barber school, learned some more things, and then I turned pro.
Yeah, turned pro at this
at 18.
Yeah. What does that mean? Elaborate.
Well, turn pro means you went to school, you got a
yeah,
license,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you became a barber
Okay.
in real time, and you're actually making money.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I just go back. So what made you, like you, many young, I would just say, I'm not gonna just say black men, but in our context, many young men try to, dabble in the streets, try to make money, a fast way. What was the light that came on for you that said, you know what, I'm gonna go another way?
I got in real big trouble. I was 18 years old and living in Atlanta. I caught a trafficking charge, which means you get caught with excessive amount of drugs. Once I went to jail and accepted the consequences of doing so, and I had no other choice but to get on the straight and narrow because I was walking real thin line. If I can get a traffic ticket and go to jail, So it became serious for me. So with that, I don't know. I kind of tweaked to another level of focus, and I really just locked in. Man, I became a shop rat. Starting at 8, 7:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock, and don't get out till 8, 9, 10, 11 at night.
Yeah.
Just really trying to make ends meet. I would probably leave when my kids get out of school, take them to the daycare after school, and pick them up, take them home, feed them, and probably go back to work sometimes.
Yeah. Nah, man. Thanks for being transparent. Because man, I just want to say, there's somebody out there right now who's sitting on the couch, sitting at home, who may be thinking, man, I don't know how I'm gonna make ends meet. And you kind of sharing that, just like many. Typically that lifestyle is only gonna lead one or two ways.
Yes.
It's no way around it. And I want to say to you, you said that you kind of had to do, get on the straight and narrow, but really you didn't, because many people choose not to do it and they stay in that lifestyle and they end up in those two ways. Like,
I really wanted to be here for my children. Though. I didn't want my children growing up with me there, and I'm not here.
Yeah.
Based off, some petty money I was trying to get to take care of them.
But it was
I'd rather take my losses and do this.
All right. It was a choice though, so I just want to like I say, we all come to a fork in the road where we got to make decisions, man. They're like pointed decisions where we can look back and see, and when I chose to do that, my life started, taking another direction. And I kind of hear you saying, you had to make a choice to be here for your children, and you decided to put all your energy into this. And 26 years or 20 something years later, now you not only, manage, but you about to own a shop, man. So I just want to tell you, it wasn't all for naught. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no,
Yeah, it wasn't all.
definitely all wasn't all for anything.
Yeah, man, that's also wasn't all. So what type of legacy you talk about your kids and your grandkids? So now, what type of legacy are you hoping to leave with your children?
Well, I basically I really taught my kids to do something they love, number one. Because if you do something you love, and I don't care what it is, if it's being a trash man, I'm just saying an example. But if you love to do it and you have no problem doing it, you would do it for free. That means you never worked.
Mm-hmm.
It's not work. You enjoy it. If you play basketball for a living and you actually love to do it, you would do it for free.
Yeah.
So I try to teach my kids that versus just go to college, get you a good career, and they might not even like the career that they choose and be doing something for 10, 15 years and they look up and they hate it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use the word hate, but they don't like what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I just try to tell them to do what they love, and that they eventually turn. You won't worry about the money.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good, man. I think like you said, if you can do what you love, it's probably something that you've been gifted to do as well. And, the money will follow. The money will follow that. So just talking about just men and brotherhood, man, I find that sometimes it's hard for us to kind of rely or ask for help, from other people. This speaking from your experience, me and you being in a relationship with, why do you think it's hard for men? Why do we struggle to ask for help?
Just the way society has raised us, I think. And outside of the Bible, if you not in touch with that, you definitely ain't gonna humble yourself to ask for help. I think that when you get knowledge and you really know the term, like that term is say closed mouths don't get fed, but it's really a endearing term, but I don't think people really understand what it means. Like in order for you to receive help, you gotta ask. I mean, nobody just not gonna see you struggling and be like, oh, he wants some help, especially a man.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like women probably can go without asking and they can get help, but a man, you won't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, man, that's a struggle, man, because like you said, we kind of been brought up to, suck it up, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
endure pain.
Figure it out. Yeah, endure pain, but it's not realistic, you know what I mean? Like you said, I just speak for myself. It's not until you realize that, when you realize how weak you really are, and you know that, God will give you the strength, in the areas where you're weak. So that's, I find in my life where I am weak, that's where really I'm strong because I'm not relying on myself. I'm relying on God's strength. And that's, like you said, that's something that you have to tap into. And that lets me know I need to ask a brother for help. You know what I mean? And the Bible talks about how, we sharpen one another. You know what I mean? Like we can just look at that in a natural sense, just us talking and conversating just helps us strengthen ourselves as men. Right.
Right.
So how important is accountability, you think, in a man's life?
Accountability is very important in a man's life. You should be able to apologize and take accountability for things that if you may have hurt someone's feelings or did something wrong. When nobody perfect, and I think that if you're able to take accountability, it'll take the strain off the other person for having them feel some type of way about you or the situation or the people involved.
Yeah. So you talk about being accountable for your actions, but I'm also talking about like as men, having somebody that kind of we're accountable to, who kind of hold like they know us, they kind of know the goals we have, the type of man we want to be, like not trying to live life solo. You know what I mean? Like having somebody you're kind of accountable to. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that's an important part of development as men? Like having somebody kind of you.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important for a man to have that, because without it, it leads me to like you'll be thinking about what is your purpose.
Mm, mm, yeah.
So you gotta be, accountable. Either whether you really have a wife or kids relationship, you gotta be accountable for those things that you have or created.
Yeah, nah, that's word. So we're gonna I'm gonna ask, one more question here. Then we're gonna pause here for a quick segment. So I just asked you this. I've been coming to your shop now, getting cuts for like 3 years now. You know, I just asked you. I haven't never kind of like pointedly said, Tim, do you believe in God? 'Cause it's not my place. You know what I mean? But I just asked you, how has faith though kind of guided you in your life and helped you? You talked about your journey. How's faith been a part of that?
Faith is I'm talking about undeniable faith, man. I truly believe that if I wouldn't have took that leap of faith and just, said I was gonna do this and leave other things alone and go this way, I I couldn't see it. I couldn't imagine it. It was just all like I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be faith. Like it's just I even that probably was my first tattoo ever, faith.
Yeah.
And fast forward, that's you gotta have faith, man, or to be able to take a leap of faith, you gotta have faith in something that you can't see or nothing. Like you can't feel it, you can't taste it, you don't know the outcome. You just going.
Yeah, no doubt. I would just say this. So along, your journey, has there been a time that like a season where, God has like really got your attention? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it could be a circumstance. Can you kind of recall some point like that in your life?
But yeah, right now, for example, he's guiding me to another step, but it's just been so many obstacles, and without faith, I think I would have been gave up.
Mm,
But the concrete things that we can do on hand, they don't really got nothing to do with where you're going.
mm.
Like it don't have nothing to do with it, and that's what I thought for a long time until now. And now I can't see ahead of me. So just I just have faith. That's it. I can't do nothing else.
Yeah. So this week's weekly spiritual practice for the men that's listening to the Love and Lead podcast is spiritual friendships and brotherhood. This week, identify one trustworthy man and reach out to him. Have a real conversation. Share one honest struggle and pray with one another. Isolation is where men struggle the most. Brotherhood is where men heal. So this week, we want you to take the time to sincerely find a brother, reach out to them, and just like Tim said earlier, listen. And when you're done listening, share. And what you guys share with one another, keep it confidential, and then say a prayer for one another. And that's the way you build brotherhood. All right. Once again, I want to thank Tim for taking time to be on the podcast. And we're just gonna finish up with this. Tim, if you had a young man that came and sat in your chair today and he asked you, what does it mean to become a good man? Or a man that others might want to follow, what would you tell them?
I would tell them have high integrity and do the right thing when nobody looking.
Bottom line point blank, integrity. So yeah, I mean that's something. Of course, my background in the military, integrity is like one of the number one things they try to put in you. So yeah, I think that goes a long way. And really, what you're saying, nobody might not see you, but ultimately, God does. So once again, man, I just want to thank you for joining us today and for investing in all the people. One conversation at a time. 26 years, you done had a lot of conversations. So I don't know if you knew you was gonna become like a psychologist, but
Nah,
that's
man.
that's kind of
I think it's just part of the job.
yeah,
When you
that's
growing
kind
up,
of
you
being
go through all these struggles just to become a barber. So I think like, just it's just part of the flow. Like, you have knowledge and information to give away because you got it for free.
yeah. Yeah, but I can say not everybody is, using their platform to do that. So thank you for doing that. So to all the listeners, God often uses ordinary conversations to accomplish extraordinary things. This week, like we said, reach out to another man, start a conversation, build a relationship, and be intentional. Because faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So until next time, love well, lead boldly, and walk with Jesus.